The council chamber floated in space above a planet called Kepler 442b. It was a massive station where 18 different alien species met to discuss important matters. Today was special. For the first time ever, humans were coming to the meeting. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the entrance with Dr. Lisa Grant and Ambassador Carlos Rivera beside him. Jake had been a soldier before becoming a spaceship captain. He was strong and moved with confidence. Lisa was a doctor who studied biology and treated sick people. Carlos was a diplomat who had trained his whole life to represent Earth at meetings like this. The chamber was beautiful. Holographic displays showed star maps and pictures of different worlds. The ceiling was made of clear material, and they could see stars and planets outside. Aliens of all shapes and sizes sat in curved rows. Some were tall and thin. Others were short and round. Some had fur, some had scales, and some had skin that glowed softly. Jake felt nervous but tried not to show it. This was humanity's chance to join the galactic community. They had to make a good impression. Lisa smiled at an alien that looked like a giant butterfly. The creature moved away quickly and Lisa's smile faded. A tall alien approached them. He was elegant and moved like he was floating. His name was Ambassador Velthar, and he came from a species called the Zentari. His skin was pale blue and his eyes were large and golden. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," he said. His voice was soft and musical. "We are pleased that humanity has achieved faster than light travel. Please take your seats. The session will begin shortly." The three humans sat down in chairs that were too small for them. Carlos shifted uncomfortably. Everything here was built for beings who came from worlds with less gravity than Earth. The aliens were graceful and delicate. Next to them, the humans felt heavy and clumsy. The meeting started. Velthar spoke about trade agreements and scientific exchanges. Other aliens asked questions. The humans listened carefully, trying to understand how the council worked. Jake noticed that all the aliens moved slowly and spoke calmly. There was no rush to anything. Then, without warning, alarms screamed through the chamber. Red lights flashed on every wall. A computerized voice announced that there had been a hull breach in Sector 7. A meteorite had struck the station. Oxygen was leaking into space. Fires were burning in 3 corridors. The aliens stopped moving. For a moment, nobody did anything. Then Velthar stood up slowly and raised his hand. "Please remain calm," he said. "Follow evacuation procedures. Make your way to the nearest shuttle bay. Move in an orderly fashion. The automated systems will contain the damage." The aliens began to move toward the exits. They walked quickly but never ran. They helped each other carefully. Everything was organized and controlled, but Jake could see on the holographic display that Sector 7 was filling with smoke. The fires were growing. People were trapped. "How long until rescue teams arrive?" Jake asked an alien next to him. The alien looked confused. "Rescue teams? We evacuate. The automated systems will handle containment. Anyone in Sector 7 will need to reach the emergency pods. But the display shows at least 20 life signs in that sector," Lisa said. "Some of them are not moving. They might be hurt or trapped." The alien made a sad gesture. "That is unfortunate, but attempting rescue would put more lives at risk. The proper procedure is evacuation." Jake looked at Lisa and Carlos. He saw the same thought in their eyes. These aliens were going to leave those people to die, not because they were cruel, but because their procedures said to evacuate. That was how they handled emergencies. Walk away and hope the machines fix things. That's not how humans did things. Move. Jake shouted to Lisa and Carlos. The 3 humans stood up fast and ran toward the damaged sector. Their feet pounded on the metal floor. They moved faster than any of the aliens had ever seen anyone move inside a space station. Within seconds, they were at the corridor entrance. Within another few seconds, they were out of sight. The council chamber fell silent. Every alien stopped and stared at the corridor where the humans had disappeared. Velthar stood frozen, his golden eyes wide with shock. "They are running toward the breach," an alien whispered. "Why would they run toward danger?" Another alien made a distress sound. "That speed. How can they move so fast? They will injure themselves." Velthar moved to a control panel and pulled up security camera footage. The screens showed the 3 humans racing down corridors filled with smoke. They did not slow down. They did not stop to check if it was safe. They just ran, their movements powerful and relentless. "This is madness," an elderly alien said. "They will die. No one can survive in those conditions. The temperature must be over 50 degrees. The oxygen level is dropping. They have no protective equipment, but the humans kept running. Jake led the way, using his military training to navigate through the chaos. Lisa was right behind him, her medical bag bouncing against her hip. Carlos brought up the rear, staying close to the other two. The aliens watched the screens in growing horror. The humans ran past fires. They ran through smoke that should have choked them. They ran down corridors where the floor was too hot to walk on. And they did not stop. They did not even seem to slow down. Belthar's hands trembled as he watched. In his long life, he had never seen anything like this. The humans moved like machines, like they were programmed to keep going no matter what. But they were not machines. They were living beings who were choosing to run into hell to save strangers. What are they? Someone asked quietly. Belthar did not answer. He could not answer. He was too busy feeling something he had never felt before when thinking about another intelligent species. He was feeling afraid. The humans disappeared deeper into Sector 7, swallowed by smoke and fire. The aliens could only watch and wait, wondering if they would ever see the humans again, and wondering what kind of creatures would choose to run toward death instead of away from it. 3 hours later, the emergency was over. The fires were out. The hull breach was sealed, and 17 aliens were alive because 3 humans had refused to follow evacuation procedures. Jake, Lisa, and Carlos sat in the medical bay while Dr. Kix examined them. Kix was a hyler, a species known for their medical knowledge. He had 8 thin arms that moved quickly as he scanned the humans with various instruments. His face, if it could be called a face, showed no expression, but his movements were agitated. "Your cardiovascular system is extraordinary," Dr. Kix said as he studied his scanner. "Your heart pumps blood with incredible efficiency. Your lungs process oxygen at rates I have never seen. And your muscles have 2 types of fibers. One for strength and one for endurance. Is that unusual?" Lisa asked. Dr. Kix made a sound that might have been a laugh or a gasp. "Unusual? You are built like machines designed for endurance. Most species in the Council have basic circulatory systems. Yours is so complex it seems wasteful. You have backup systems for your backup systems," Jake shrugged. "We evolved on a tough planet. Guess we needed the extra help." Dr. Kix put down his scanner. "Tough is an understatement. I accessed your planet's data. Earth has gravity strong enough to crush most Council species over time. Your temperature range would kill 90% of known life. Your atmosphere has more oxygen than most worlds, which is why you can burn so much energy. And your planet is filled with predators that hunt each other constantly." The 3 humans looked at each other. They had never thought of Earth as particularly dangerous. "It was just home. Are we cleared to leave?" Carlos asked. Dr. Kix waved one of his arms. Yes. You are perfectly healthy. Disturbingly healthy, in fact. You show no signs of exhaustion despite running through a disaster zone for over 2 hours. Any other species would be hospitalized. You 3 look like you went for a light walk." They left the medical bay and headed toward the station bar. The Council had given them quarters, but none of them felt like being alone right now. They wanted to relax and maybe have a drink. As they walked, aliens stopped and stared. Some whispered to each other. Others moved out of the way quickly. Jake noticed the change in atmosphere. Earlier today, the aliens had been polite but dismissive. Now they looked at the humans like they were dangerous. "Did we do something wrong?" Lisa asked quietly. "We saved lives," Jake replied. "That can't be wrong." In the Council chamber, an emergency session had been called. All 18 species representatives were present. The room buzzed with nervous conversation. When Velthar stood to speak, everyone fell silent. "I have completed my research on humanity," Velthar said. "What I have learned is deeply concerning." He activated a holographic display. It showed images of Earth, pictures of humans running, and data about human biology. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. This is a rare and terrifying hunting strategy. They do not ambush their prey. They do not overpower it with strength or speed. Instead, they chase it. For hours, for days if necessary. They chase until the prey collapses from exhaustion. Then they kill it. The chamber erupted in alarmed sounds. Aliens spoke over each other, their voices rising in pitch. "Are you saying humans are apex predators?" a delegate asked. Velthar nodded. "On their planet, humans have no natural predators. They are at the top of their food chain, and they achieve this not through strength or speed, but through endurance. They can outlast anything." A Cree delegate stood up, her purple skin dark with emotion. "This is a security concern. If humans can do what we saw today during a rescue, imagine what they could do during a war." They could chase down fleeing ships. They could pursue enemies without rest. No one in the galaxy could escape them. But they saved lives, another delegate protested. They are heroes. Today they saved lives, the Kree delegate replied. But their biology does not change. They are built to hunt. We must consider restrictions on human expansion and military capabilities. The argument grew louder. Some species wanted to limit humanity immediately. Others argued that would be unfair and insulting. A few suggested that humanity should be studied more before any decisions were made. Belthar raised his hand for silence. I understand your fear. I feel it too. But we must remember something important. Humans chose to run toward danger today. They chose to save our people. Their capabilities are frightening, yes, but their choices show character. In the station bar, Jake took a long drink of something the bartender said was similar to beer. It tasted strange but not terrible. Lisa was reading something on her datapad, and Carlos was staring at the wall. That was only about 5 kilometers, Jake said suddenly. 5 kilometers total, maybe less. And they are acting like we did something impossible. Lisa looked up. I ran a half marathon last month. That was 21 kilometers. Today was nothing compared to that. Carlos laughed, but it was a tired sound. We should have stretched first. I'm going to be sore tomorrow. What they did not know was that their conversation was being monitored. Council security kept tabs on all new species, and right now, every word the human said was being analyzed. In a monitoring room, 2 technicians listened to the humans talk. One of them looked at the other with wide eyes. She ran 21 kilometers last month, for fun, for exercise. The other technician checked the translation software to make sure it was working correctly. 21 kilometers. That is not possible. Nothing runs that far. But the translation was correct. And the humans were serious. They could run distances that would kill any other species. And they did it for fun, to stay healthy because it was normal to them. Crix, the engineer Lisa had saved, entered the bar. His leg was bandaged, but he could walk with only a slight limp. He approached the humans carefully. I wanted to thank you, he said. You saved my life. You saved all of our lives. Lisa smiled at him. We're just glad we got there in time. How's the leg? It will heal. Crix sat down carefully. Can I ask you something? When you were carrying me, you were not even breathing hard. How is that possible? Lisa thought about it. I guess humans are just built for that kind of thing. On Earth, we used to hunt by chasing animals until they got tired. We're good at keeping going. Crix looked at her with something like awe and fear mixed together. That is the most terrifying thing I have ever heard. You chase prey until it dies from running away from you. The 3 humans realized for the first time how their abilities might look to others. What was normal to them was nightmare fuel to the rest of the galaxy. Jake set down his drink. We're not here to scare anyone. We just want to be part of the galactic community. We want to help. The council debated for 3 days. During that time, Jake, Lisa, and Carlos were not allowed to attend the sessions. They stayed in their quarters and waited. The uncertainty was hard. They had come to join the galactic community, and now it seemed like that might not happen. On the morning of the 4th day, they received a message. They were being called to testify before the full council. Carlos checked his uniform 3 times. Lisa packed and repacked her datapad with research about human biology. Jake just sat quietly, thinking. When they entered the council chamber, the atmosphere was tense. Every representative was present. The humans took their seats in the center of the room, surrounded by aliens on all sides. It felt like being on trial. Belthar stood to speak. Captain Morrison, Dr. Grant, Ambassador Rivera, you are here today because the Council needs to understand humanity better. Your actions during the emergency were brave, but they have raised concerns. We need you to answer our questions honestly. Of course, Carlos replied. We have nothing to hide. The questions started immediately. The Kree delegate went first. Can all humans run the distances you ran during the rescue? Lisa answered. Most healthy adult humans could do what we did, yes. Some could do much more. We have athletes who run over 40 kilometers in a single session. We have people who run across entire continents. A ripple of fear went through the chamber. Running across continents. The idea was insane. Does your military train to enhance these abilities? Another delegate asked. Jake nodded. Yes. Soldiers train to run longer and carry more weight. We learn to push past our limits. Military training can turn a regular human into someone who can operate for days without real rest. The chamber erupted in worried conversation. Velthar had to call for silence. How long has humanity been at war? The Kree delegate asked. Carlos took this question. Humans have fought wars throughout our entire history, but we have also made peace. We have also cooperated and built civilizations. War is part of our past, but so is cooperation. But you admit to being a violent species, the delegate pressed. Jake stood up. We admit to being survivors. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight because we had to, but we also learned to protect each other. That is why we ran into danger to save your people. Not because we are violent. Because we protect those who need help. The chamber fell quiet. Then a young delegate from the pack species stood up. She was small and delicate, with silver skin that shimmered in the light. Her voice was soft but clear. I have a question, she said. Given your capabilities, why did you run toward the danger? Why not run away and save yourselves? You had just arrived. Those were not your people. You could have left and been safe. The three humans looked at each other. Finally, Lisa spoke. Because that's what you do when someone needs help. You help them. It does not matter if they are strangers. It does not matter if it is dangerous. When you have the ability to save a life, you have the responsibility to try. She paused, gathering her thoughts. Everyone is scared of what humans can do. You are scared that we can run forever, that we are strong, that we are built like predators, and you are right to see those things in us. But you are missing something important. Lisa stood up and her voice grew stronger. The same traits that made us good hunters also made us good at taking care of each other. Persistence means we do not give up on our friends. Endurance means we carry our wounded home. The ability to run toward danger means we protect those who cannot protect themselves. We became the dominant species on Earth not just because we were strong. We survived because we chose to use our strength to help our group. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of the different delegates. You are right to fear what we could do, but you should also consider what we choose to do. When we saw people in danger, we did not think about it. We just ran to help. That is what humans do. That is what we have always done. The chamber was completely silent. Every alien was listening. Even those who had argued for restrictions looked thoughtful. Velthar felt something shift inside him. He had been afraid of humans because of what they could do, but Lisa was right. The real measure of a species was not their capabilities. It was their choices. And humans had chosen to be heroes. He stood up. I would like to speak. For 3 days I have researched humanity. I have studied their biology, their history, their evolution, and yes, I was terrified by what I learned. They are persistence hunters. They are apex predators. They come from a death world that would kill most of us within days. But I was looking at the wrong things. Yes, humans can chase prey until it dies, but they also use that persistence to never abandon their companions. Yes, they have incredible endurance, but they use it to keep protecting others even when they are exhausted. Yes, they evolved to hunt, but they hunt survivors trapped in burning corridors not to kill them but to save them. Velthar's voice grew passionate. My species evolved on a low-gravity world with few predators. We learned to think and plan and avoid danger. That made us wise, but it also made us slow to act. When the emergency happened, we followed procedures. We evacuated. We waited for automated systems, and people would have died. He gestured toward the humans. These beings ran toward danger without hesitation. They did what we could not do, what we would never think to do. And now we want to punish them for it? We want to restrict them because they scare us? The galaxy is not a safe place. We have pirates, accidents, disasters. We have problems that cannot be solved by thinking and planning alone. Sometimes you need beings who will run into the fire. Sometimes you need persistence hunters who will chase down every last survivor. Sometimes you need humans. The Kree delegate stood up. Are you suggesting we welcome them fully? Give them access to our trade routes and technology? Trust them with our safety? Velthar looked at her. I am suggesting that we recognize what they have shown us. Power is meaningless without the choice to use it well, and humans have shown us that they choose to protect, not to harm. They choose to save, not to destroy. Yes, they could be dangerous enemies, but I believe they will be even better friends. The young PAX delegate stood up again. I propose we accept humanity as full council members, but with a condition: they should form a rapid response force. When disasters happen, when people are trapped, when speed is needed, humans should be the first to respond. Use their gifts to protect everyone. Other delegates began to nod. The idea made sense. Instead of fearing human capabilities, they could channel them into something positive. Jake stood up. We would be honored to serve in that role. Helping others is what we came here to do. The council voted that afternoon. The decision was not unanimous, but it was clear. Humanity would be accepted as full members. They would establish a rapid response force. Their abilities would be used to protect the galaxy. As the humans left the chamber, Velthar approached them. Thank you for showing us that courage is not about having no fear. It is about running toward danger despite the fear. I think the galaxy needed that lesson. Jake's lungs burned as he ran through the smoke-filled corridor, but he ignored the discomfort. Behind him, he could hear Lisa and Carlos keeping pace. The metal floor was hot under their feet, and the air tasted like chemicals and burning plastic. Emergency lights flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. They had been running for 3 minutes straight. Back on Earth, this would have been nothing. A light jog. But here, in a damaged space station with failing life support, every breath was harder than the last. Still, they did not stop. There, Lisa shouted, pointing ahead. A blast door had closed, sealing off part of the corridor. Behind it, according to the station's display, there were at least 6 life signs. Jake ran to the door and grabbed the emergency release handle. He pulled, nothing happened. The mechanism was jammed. He looked at Carlos, who nodded and grabbed the handle too. Together they pulled with all their strength. The muscles in Jake's arms strained. Sweat poured down his face. The handle moved a tiny bit, then a bit more. Come on, Carlos grunted. The 2 men pulled harder. The door groaned. Metal screeched against metal. Then suddenly the seal broke. The door slid open just enough for them to squeeze through. On the other side, they found chaos. Equipment had fallen from the walls. Pipes were broken, spraying steam. And in the middle of it all, 6 aliens were huddled together. They looked terrified. One of them was trapped under a piece of metal beam. Lisa immediately went to the trapped alien. It was a Zentari, like Ambassador Velthar. The alien's leg was pinned, and he was clearly in pain. Lisa knelt beside him and opened her medical bag. My name is Crix, the alien said weakly. You should not be here. It is not safe, neither should you, Lisa replied. Let me see that leg. While Lisa worked, Jake and Carlos lifted the metal beam off Crix's leg. It was heavy, at least 200 pounds, but they managed it. The other aliens stared at them with wide eyes. How did you get here so fast? One of the aliens asked. The breach happened only minutes ago. The rescue teams would not arrive for another 20 minutes at least. We ran, Jake said simply. But you ran for so long. How are you not exhausted? Jake wiped sweat from his forehead. This was maybe half a mile. We're fine. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. Half a mile was nothing to a human. But to them, it was an impossible distance to run without stopping. Back in the council chamber, Velthar watched the security footage with other council members. They saw everything. They saw the humans force open the blast door. They saw them lift the heavy beam. They saw Lisa treating Crix with steady hands, even though she had just run through fire and smoke. This is not possible, an alien scientist said. Their heart rates should be at dangerous levels. They should be suffering from heat exhaustion. Their muscles should be failing. But look at them. They are barely affected. Velthar pulled up information about Earth from the Council database. What he read made his blood run cold. Earth had gravity that was 30% stronger than most Council worlds. The temperature swings on Earth were extreme, from freezing cold to burning hot. And humans had evolved in an environment filled with predators. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was how humans hunted. Velthar found records that humans had shared during first contact. Ancient humans did not kill their prey by being faster or stronger. They killed by chasing. They would pick an animal and run after it for hours, sometimes for days, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. Then the humans would walk up and finish it. They are persistence hunters, Velthar whispered. His hand shook as he realized the truth. These creatures evolved to never stop, to never give up, to chase until their target died of exhaustion. And now 3 of them were loose in the station, running through corridors that would kill any other species, running without stopping, running like it was easy. On the security feed, the humans were helping the aliens move towards safety. Lisa had splinted Crix's leg and was carrying him. Actually carrying him even though Crix was not small. She held him like he weighed nothing and she kept moving at a quick pace. How are you doing this? Crix asked Lisa as she carried him. You ran here. You treated my injury. Now you are carrying me. And you are not even breathing hard. Lisa smiled. I used to run 10 miles every morning before work. This is actually a pretty comfortable pace for me. 10 miles. Every morning. Crix could not imagine such a thing. He could barely walk 10 miles in a day, and this human ran that distance before starting her real work. The group reached a safe zone where the air was clean and the temperature was normal. Medical teams were waiting there. Lisa carefully set Crix down and gave a report to the alien doctors. They listened in amazement as she described his injuries and what treatment she had already provided. Jake checked his communicator. The display shows more life signs in Sector 9. We should go already, Carlos asked. Don't you want to rest for a minute? Jake looked at him seriously. People are trapped. We can rest later. Carlos nodded. He was tired, but he knew Jake was right. They started running again. Crix watched them go, disappearing into another smoke-filled corridor. He looked at the alien doctors treating him. Did you see that? They are going again. They are running again. How is that possible? The doctors had no answer. None of them did. In the council chamber, the aliens watched the humans run deeper into the damaged station. They watched them save life after life. They watched them do things that should have been impossible. And slowly a feeling spread through the chamber. It was not gratitude, though they were grateful. It was not admiration, though they were impressed. It was fear. These humans had come to the council chamber as friendly newcomers. They had smiled and spoken politely. They had seemed harmless. But now the aliens understood the truth. Humans were predators. They were built to chase, to endure, to never stop until they caught what they were hunting. Right now they were hunting survivors to save them. But what if someday they decided to hunt something else? What if they decided to hunt enemies? Could anyone in the galaxy escape from creatures that never stopped running? Velthar looked at the screen and felt a chill run through his body. Humanity had just joined the Galactic Council, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 6 months had passed since that first emergency. The council chamber looked the same, but everything else had changed. Jake Morrison, now wearing the insignia of the Rapid Response Corps, stood before the council with his updated report. In the past 6 months, the human response teams have completed 42 missions. We have saved over 300 lives across 12 different systems. Lisa headed the medical division and trained 50 aliens in emergency medicine. Carlos had become the chief liaison, helping new species integrate smoothly into the council. The council members listened with approval. What had started as fear had transformed into respect. Humans were no longer the scary newcomers. They were the ones who showed up when things went wrong. But not everyone had accepted this new reality. On the frontier, pirates and criminals saw the council's rapid response force as a threat to their activities. Some groups decided to test whether humans were as dangerous as the stories said. The call came in during a routine council session. A mining colony on the edge of council space was under attack. Pirates had disabled the station's defenses and were holding workers hostage. They demanded payment or they would start killing people. The council fleet could respond in 3 hours. Jake looked at the star charts and did quick math in his head. His team could be there in 40 minutes if they pushed their ships to maximum speed. We need to go now, Jake said. Every minute we wait, those pirates get more nervous. Nervous pirates make bad decisions. Velthar stood up from his seat. I volunteered to accompany the response team. The chamber went silent. Velthar was a dignified council representative, not a soldier or emergency responder. He was old by Zentari standards, and his species was not built for physical stress. Ambassador Velthar, are you certain? Another delegate asked. The conditions will be difficult, I am certain. Velthar's voice was firm. For months I have watched humans run toward danger. I have watched them save lives while we observe from safety. It is time that I understand what that means. It is time that I choose to run toward danger too. Jake looked at the Zentari with surprise and respect. If you are coming, we need to leave now. Can you handle high acceleration? I will manage, Velthar replied. 15 minutes later, 3 human ships and 1 small Zentari vessel were racing through space at speeds that made most aliens uncomfortable. Velthar gripped his seat as the acceleration pushed him back. His body was not designed for this kind of stress, but he refused to ask them to slow down. The mining colony came into view. It was a small station built into an asteroid. The pirates had 2 ships docked at the main entrance. Scans showed that most of the workers were gathered in the central habitat, with armed pirates guarding them. "Standard breach and clear," Jake said over the communications channel. "Team 1 takes the dock. Team 2 goes through the maintenance tunnels. Team 3 secures the habitat. Move fast and do not give them time to hurt anyone." The ships docked. Humans poured out in their response gear, moving with practiced efficiency. Velthar followed behind Jake's team, struggling to keep up. The humans were not even running yet, just walking quickly, but he was already breathing hard. Then the shooting started. The pirates had detected their arrival and were fighting back. Jake's team broke into a run, heading toward the sounds of weapons fire. Velthar ran too. His legs burned. His heart pounded in his chest. The low gravity of the asteroid helped, but he was still pushing his body beyond what it was designed for. He wanted to stop. Every instinct told him to find cover and wait for help, but he kept running. Because this was what courage meant. Not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. The humans had shown him this truth, and now he was living it. The response teams reached the central habitat in record time. The pirates, expecting a slow siege, were caught off guard by the speed of the human assault. Most surrendered immediately when they realized they were surrounded. The few who tried to fight were quickly overwhelmed by humans who moved with terrifying efficiency. Lisa moved through the crowd of freed workers, checking for injuries. Carlos was already coordinating with the colony administrator to assess damage and needs. Jake secured the pirate ships to prevent escape. Velthar collapsed against a wall, gasping for breath. His body screamed in protest, but he had done it. He had run toward danger. He had kept pace with humans, even if just barely. Jake approached him with a bottle of water. "You okay, Ambassador?" Velthar took the water gratefully. "I am alive. I chose to act. That is what matters," Jake smiled. "You did good. Most people, human or alien, would not have volunteered for this." "I needed to understand," Velthar said. "For months I watched you run toward danger. I feared your abilities. But today I learned something more important. Running toward danger is not about physical capability. It is about moral choice. Any species can learn to be brave. Any being can choose to help others." That night, Velthar addressed the council. He spoke about his experience, about pushing past his fear and his physical limits. He spoke about what he had learned from humans. "When I first saw humans run toward danger, I looked on in horror. I thought they were reckless. I thought they were dangerous. But I was wrong. They were showing us what we could be. They were teaching us that courage is a choice, not a capability. I am not built like a human. I cannot run for hours. I cannot chase prey across continents. But today I chose to run toward danger anyway, and I discovered that I could do more than I thought possible. Not because my body changed, but because my mind changed." The council listened in silence as Velthar continued. "Humans are teaching the galaxy a lesson, not about running or endurance or physical strength. They are teaching us about choice. They are showing us that safety is not about avoiding all danger. Sometimes safety means running toward the danger to stop it from hurting others." Over the following years, something remarkable happened. Other species began forming their own response teams. They could not match human endurance, but they learned to push their limits. They learned to act quickly when emergencies happened. They learned to run toward danger in their own way. 5 years after that first emergency, Jake stood at a graduation ceremony. He was an admiral now, in charge of all response operations. Before him stood 100 new responders. Half were human, half were not. They had all trained together. They had all learned the same lesson. When disaster strikes, you do not walk away. You run toward it, you help. You save who you can. That is what heroes do. Lisa had published books about cross-species medicine. Her work had saved thousands of lives by helping doctors understand different biologies. Carlos had helped integrate 6 new species into the council, each time ensuring that fear transformed into understanding. Velthar, now retired, had written his memoirs. The book was called Running Toward the Future. In it, he described that moment 6 years ago when he looked on in horror as the humans began to run. He described his fear, his confusion, and his eventual understanding. The final chapter was his favorite. He wrote about courage being contagious. He wrote about how humans had shown the galaxy that running toward danger was not insanity. It was heroism. And he wrote about how that lesson had spread. The galaxy was safer now. Not because humans were here to protect everyone, though they did help. The galaxy was safer because humans had inspired everyone to be protectors. They had shown that courage was not about being the strongest or the fastest. It was about making the choice to help when help was needed. Now, across hundreds of worlds, when emergencies happened, beings of all species would stand up. They would take a deep breath. They would remember the lesson humanity taught them. And then they would run.